Almost $20 billion was spent between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That's a huge number. That almost makes you question, do people really think we're in a bad economy? Well, the definition of a bad economy is always done through the real estate market. But seeing the retail numbers that came out makes me shift my focus a little bit. So these are the three things I take from that whole situation, from that whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday situation. Number one is it changed my focus. Now I'm thinking we're going to go back to a regular sales cycle. As prices come down on housing, cars, RVs, boats, things of that nature, as profit margins at companies shrink compared to what they were during the lockdowns, I think we're going to get back to a normal sales cycle. So if the normal sales cycle, I'm going to use RVs as an example because that's the business I'm in, okay? So if I take a normal sales cycle, which is normally, let's call it mid-spring through, let's call it mid-September, okay? That's the high selling season for the RV business. Probably the boat business as well. But COVID lockdowns had made that pretty much non-existent because you were having dealerships having record winters. I mean, they were making money hand over fist because people were just buying whenever they could actually get their hands on something. There was such a short supply of things and a large demand. Now there's still a decent demand, but now there's a big supply. So the opposite kind of occurred. Now, the demand didn't shrink to the point where there's no demand. There's plenty of demand out there for goods, services, and products. But now people are going back to their normal cycles. It's the same thing that's going on in housing. People are regretting their housing. I just watched and read an article about almost 75% of people that bought a home in 2020 and 2021 actually regret their purchase. And some of them actually regret it because the work from home thing went away. I mean, now people have to go back to the office and now they're driving in, they're commuting in from the suburbs when they were living in the city. So people have to correct themselves back to where were pre-pandemic. And that's what my number two take is. My number two take is the gig economy is going to be the next realistically the next entrepreneurship. It's going to be bigger than it was over the last 2 years going forward. So places like Fiverr, places like Uber, places like DoorDash, I think they're going to see an influx of people wanting to sign up to do those things part-time. Because I believe what's really going to happen over the next probably 6 to 9 months is those gig jobs are going to start paying off debt that people have occurred this year. People are going to start putting money away to pay down or pay off some of the toys that they bought over the last 2 years so that way they can get out of them. I believe that because you have to look at the wholesale side. So that's my third take of things. So when you look at the wholesale side of any of the businesses, and what I mean by wholesale, I'm talking about used wholesale. The auctions are still not full of inventory. The auctions are actually down in inventory. Trucks, cars, RVs, boats, motorcycles, all the auctions, at least the ones out here west of the Mississippi, are down in inventory still. And the reason being is people are not giving the stuff back to the bank. They're still able to make their payments. They still have their jobs. The difference is I think that inventory is going to shrink even more. And the gig economy is a perfect example why. A lot of survival of the grocery inflation. And I'm talking about, when milk doubled, bread doubled, things of that nature. People are starting to use the gig economy to just be able to pay the bills. But as inflation will come down slowly, and I'm talking about microscopically slowly, I believe that people will still do those gig jobs to pay off debt. They're going to pay off their boat. They're going to pay off their RV. They're going to pay off their motorcycle. They're going to pay off the toy that they're not using or pay it down where they can sell it. And then once they've sold it, they're going to get out of it for a while. So I think the private party for cars, trucks, RVs, boats, etc., is going to have an explosion probably around 2024. I think private party sales are going to be huge. I think that dealerships and businesses will be able to make more street buys, what we call street buys, which is directly from the consumer to the dealer, than they will going to the auction. The other thing you might want to look at in the top right-hand corner right here, you're going to want to see this video on what I think the housing market's going to do.